Lonesome Lands podcast, Lonesome Report, um, September 23rd. It's late in the day, so this will probably be out September 24th. Anyway, Shad reporting live from Washington, D.C. Once
Yes.
again, his home away from home. This one is brought to you by the people who support us. I just changed on the website. The page to click on is now called support and not subscriptions.
Okay.
I'm changing that up. But yeah, if you go there and you want to help us out in what we're doing, click on that. There's some ways you can do that there. Um, I am a little sick. I wish I wouldn't have just cleared my throat in the microphone, but I'm not really that sick. I just sound weird.
This
So
is a real podcast and real people
sultry.
get real
I
sick.
sound. Yeah, from the time pretty much the end of last podcast until now, I've had this sounded like this. I don't know what the deal is. Sorry about that. Shad, I guess we'll get right into it. You're in DC. I guess you could just we'll hit your I want a full review on your trip, what you're doing, but
Okay.
just I guess real quick just to get the elephant out of the room. What are you
Yes.
doing?
In DC,
Yeah, just like what why are you there? Where are you?
I was asked by American First Policy Institute to come out and speak at the third annual Mexico U.S. Relations Summit, where the key issue is the USMCA. That was the
Spell
trade
that out.
United States Mexico Canada agreement, right? And that's the new NAFTA. President Trump delineated NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, during his first tenure as the president, and we renegotiated it and called it the U.S. Mexico Canada agreement. And so that was the underlying issue of the day. But we were um, briefed by many panelists, speakers on really just relations.
All
That's
right.
what it was fantastic.
I want to get down to the nuts and bolts, but first I feel like we should get into the news that everybody's freaking out about today
Yeah,
and yesterday.
yeah,
I guess when was this? Sunday night this came out? Is that right? The press release about the New World screwworm is now 70 miles south of the United States border. I
correct.
have the thing, the press release from USDA. The previous northernmost detection was reported on July 9th, 2025 in Veracruz, approximately 370 miles farther south. Now, this is kind of confusing, but it says preliminary reports from Senasica, which I looked up, and I'll tell you what that is. That is the National Service for Agroalimentary Health, Safety, and Quality, is a Mexican government agency that protects the country's agri-food heritage by preventing the entry of pests and diseases through animal, plant, aquaculture, whatever. They are the failure that has allowed this to happen, apparently. But they indicate the affected animal, an 8-month-old cow, had recently been moved to a certified feedlot in Nuevo Leon from a region in southern Mexico with known active New World screwworm cases. The potential link to an animal movement underscores the non negotiable need for Mexico to fully implement and comply with U.S. Mexico Joint Action Plan for New World screwworm in Mexico. Meaning, I took that to mean they were not supposed to be moving cattle north,
Correct.
the part of that agreement. But
Correct.
apparently, they're just doing whatever the hell they want to down there.
As always.
Currently, U.S. ports remain closed to imports of cattle, bison, horses, in Mexico. But the thing that got everybody wound up, maybe we'll talk about screwworm, but what everybody's wound up about is the paragraph here. In addition, the USDA will soon release a significant plan to help rebuild the American cattle supply, incentivizing our great ranchers. That word incentivizing has got everybody wound up. Okay. And so back to it, and driving a full scale revitalization of the American beef industry. This is only the beginning, with many more announcements coming this week as USDA restores American strength, protects food security, and supports America's ranchers and farmers. So Shad, your thoughts. What do you
Where do you,
think?
where do you want me to start? On the screwworm or on
Yeah, I
this?
guess we'll start on the screwworm.
Yeah,
Those two paragraphs are right together. I read them both at the same time. Probably
yeah.
should.
I mean, we need to talk about the screwworm. The screwworm is a major, major, major factor that we need to be thinking about right now. We know it's 70 miles south, apparently found in one animal. Likely that one animal did not come from, southern Mexico all by itself. There's probably more in there. I am happy that the Mexican government decided to report this because honestly, I wouldn't trust them to report it, right? But it shows you exactly what's been happening. Those cattle coming from South America and southern Mexico are not supposed to be being moved without inspection. And in fact, some of those states have totally closed their borders to cattle movement across the whole thing. So what's happening there is what we're what it, I mean what are we going to call it? Narco cattle, right? Is smuggling of cattle, and that's been the issue, and that's exactly why um, the screwworm is an issue right now. Is because during the Biden administration, it started with COVID, obviously, where we got behind down there. The Mexican government and the American government got behind. We have been financing the whole program, all of this. So well, since 1966, we financed most of the program. We're in a partnership called COPEG with Panama. We're in a partnership with Mexico to mitigate the screwworm. We're paying for most of those flights, and up to 700 million flies were supposed to be being dropped per week over those years, and that deaccelerated. Name the reason. I don't know.
You mean
I
they weren't dropping as many flies?
They weren't dropping as many flies, and they were smuggling cattle through the Darien Gap, which the Darien Gap is losing its forestry, so it's easier to smuggle cattle across there, and the New World screwworm got out of control, and that's what's happened. That's why we're in the war of our life on the screwworm now, because the dynamics have changed with the screwworm in America. Right, there's several dynamics that have changed since 1966. One of them being that we don't have the workforce that can go out there and physically labor over these cattle to heal them up. The second one being is the overgrowth of invasive species like mesquite and brush that are very thorny and woody, and they injure cattle, and so that's a problem. And so when you combine the two, uh, we will not be able to control the spread of the screwworm very well. Now, Secretary Rollins come out with her 5-point plan. We've talked about it on the Lonesome report, and then she came back out with 3 more points here about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But yesterday, when the report of this came, they got on top of it. They sent over 300 more workers down there to help oversee the Mexican uh, abiding by the rules. They've sent thousands and thousands of fly traps out, and so I applaud USDA Secretary Rollins' commitment to get on top of it now. Listen, we're late to the game, and it's not her fault. She's only been at this job for 4 or 5 months. USDA dropped the ball on this in the Biden administration. It's their fault. Mexico, along with them, and now we have to fix it because if it gets into the American herd and decimates our already low numbers, you will see the dying of ranchers and farmers and their communities um, on top of what we're already seeing, which is bad, right? Because you'll see an increase in prices, and these farmers and ranchers are going to be like, well, I'm going to go out at the top. My herd's being devastated. I can't get back in, and why would I with a herd being devastated? So we hope that winter comes along here pretty quick, and it slows down the growth of those flies. But along the border, we have to keep up vigilant 24 hours a day watch over that. And we really, honestly, we have to make Mexico aware that they have not gone by the rules and they have to start participating with this in a better way. Now, I think, according to Secretary Rollins, they are partnering well with us on this deal, but I don't know. I have different feelings on it because it should not be to the place where it is right now. So that's how I
Right.
feel.
Yeah, and that press release said something about how they're going to hold Mexico accountable. Um, we it says we will pursue aggressive measures against anyone who harms American livestock. That's a quote from Brooke Rollins, I
Which
believe.
quote did kind of bother me because that's a very strange quote to have. It almost feels like, agri-terrorism to me, right? That maybe it's purposely being driven. Let's make no mistake, these Mexican cattle people want to get into this good market in the United States. And a lot of them are good people, but a lot of them are cartel driven. And
Yeah, and they're forced to work inside of that system, even if they are
absolutely,
good people.
absolutely, absolutely. But we it's said today in this meeting, I said, we have to regain our sovereignty and then we have to go back at correct, proper channels of communication and trade. That's how I feel.
Well, I guess what's your prediction? When Screwworm going to show up?
I am not going to predict that.
They said so June, I think it was June. They said 370. So what's that? July, August, September. 3 months. That made it 300 miles.
Yeah, that's
Now
right.
we're 70 miles away. If it keeps on that track. But it was an animal, which I think is better than because they have all these fly traps. They said they haven't found any flies in I think they said 8,000 fly traps, and they haven't found a fly with it in it.
Correct.
So just, I mean, and just it just being in the animal, mean it. Hopefully, it's just a larva that hadn't hatched. They caught it, cleaned it. Who
Oh,
knows?
yeah, we just don't know. And that's not our area of expertise. We have to trust the process and trust what Rollins is saying. But make no mistake about it. We're late to this game. We have the ability, we have the money and the resources to get down there to Edinburgh, Texas, and get that fly facility built. We did it. We saw them do it in COVID over and over and over. They use taxpayer dollars to get their stuff done. We can do that here. We need to express build that facility. And then, we're helping them rebuild the facility at Matapas, Mexico. We have the ability to do that quicker too. They are putting out 100 million flies a week now. That's not enough. It's not even close to being enough. From what I understand, Dr. Laura Bledsoe mentioned to me that it would take at least 400, more like 5 to 700 million on the U.S. border to mitigate that or push that fly back south. So we've got some work to do, and Secretary Rollins is obviously on top of it, and I'm thankful for that. So, whew,
Yeah. So NCBA's um, press release. NCBA will. So for those not familiar, National Cattlemen's Beef Association wanted the border open. What month was that?
in May,
I mean,
they
did they ever want it closed? We don't really know. They
they
said that the reason it got closed was just politics and it was trade negotiations is the reason the border was closed. But then they put out a press release about this and they closed their press release. Well, NCBA will continue working to protect the U.S. cattle industry from New World screwworm, which I thought was funny. That's how they wanted quoted in the press.
if they had the Texas Cattle Feeders Association come on there when they opened it, and their spokesman said, "We appreciate Secretary Rollins and their science-based approach to opening the border," and then literally less than what was it, 30 hours later, she shut the border. And they were quiet for a while and then had to get back on and say, "We appreciate Secretary Rollins using a science based approach," So there you have it.
All right. So moving on to the next or two paragraphs down in that press release, if I can find it again. USDA will soon release a significant plan to help rebuild the American cattle supply, incentivizing our great ranchers and driving a full-scale revitalization of the American beef industry. This is only the beginning, with many more announcements coming this week as USDA restores American strength, protects food security, and supports American ranchers and farmers. So the rumors have run wild just today,
Yeah.
saying that now we're hearing, oh, they're going to pay you to keep your heifers. They're going to pay you $1,000 to keep your heifers. They're going to pay, pay, pay. I think that just comes from years of when you hear incentivize, USDA say incentivize, it means they're going to start doling out checks. Um, I have heard that that is not the case. And I am confident that that is not the case, that they're just going to start paying people to keep heifers. That's the rumors. Um, Incentivize can mean a lot of different things. It can mean tax relief. It can mean, they have this, their, is it the equip thing now, even where you can, to help build fences, help dig wells, help move water around, things like that. I mean, who knows what it is? But the fact that nobody knows what it is and they're just going to make stuff up, and people are already mad that, that, um, they're going to, they're sending out this money, which nobody's had said anything about
Yeah.
sending out any
There's
money.
nothing said about it. And that's the magic of social media. And I know that a lot, I've heard one rumor where, our calf was behind all that, and we didn't even know about it, until everybody else did. And so the rumors are rampant. My suggestion to the American producer is sit down, calm down, and see what these announcements are going to bring this week. But in the meantime, you have a ranch to run, you have a community to feed, and so go do it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, that's all that really needs said about that. There wasn't a ton in the news this week, but I keep seeing farmers are going broke. Farmers are going broke.
Oh my God.
Um, but yeah, farmers are, and then it seems like anytime you hear a farmer saying that, well, I'm going broke, I need money, that is what gets played up and played up and played up. That's really not the case, I don't think. Grain prices are down. They're coming back today, I think, but uh, and it's tough, but it's just the wait and see. I mean, that's the old thing.
I had a great conversation with a farmer in a bar here last night, and she was from your state. And she's like, "We are going broke. We are going broke." And I said, "Well, what about all these subsidies?" And she's like, "By the time they get done giving us our subsidies, because of the cost of overheads, it's not helping us at all." And I saw the big video of the guy in Arkansas. I think he was in Arkansas, Jim. We've this administration, is they're killing us farmers. Prices are low. Well, I mean, we talk, and it's all tariff based, right? But we talked early on in this administration about the tariffs, and I am pro tariff. And President Trump, I specifically remember him saying, it's going to be rough for a while. If you'll trust the process, we'll get through it and it will be great. And I'm trusting the process because, you know, if we're going to talk facts, the fact is his tariffs have created more income for this nation than we've seen in decades. That has already happened. So his tariff plan in that way is working. Now, maybe I'm not saying our row crop prices are not low. All of these things are in bad shape. They are in bad shape. But I think if we just trust the process and hold out, I mean, I'm pretty sure there'll be a subsidy. There'll be a subsidy to keep them boys a going. But mostly what I'm thinking, I'm seeing all these people are the Democrat farmers complaining about Trump. And
Yeah,
I'm,
that's what you always got to take with. Well, I wonder how they voted. Right? If Trump's the reason you're going broke, I wonder how you voted.
you were
And
going
I mean, it all goes into, yeah, what are your input prices? Do you have a brand new equipment that you have payments to? I mean, things like that. And we've talked about before, equipment prices have went I mean, it's hard to rationalize what has happened.
Well,
It's a
that's a
lot
part
of people.
of civilization. That's a part of what we're corporate cronyism. The corporate cabal. That needs to be taken care of. We need to break those people up. And the lady I talked to in the bar last night, she's super nice. I really enjoyed her. Can't wait to reach out to her. But I said, "Well, do you have your land leveraged?" And she said, "No, our land is free and clear." And I said, "Well, you're in pretty good shape. You're in better shape than most people are, right?" So I think perspective has a huge role to play in this. And you're right. We see how their overhead is, see what they're spending it all on. Did they save for a rainy day? I'm not an economic expert. I'm just not. I'm the type of guy that says, okay, let's buy low and sell high and save all the money we can in between. It's just simplicity for me.
Yeah.
Uh, but uh, Trump is going to have to, he is going to have to address these farmers, and we'll see where it goes. So,
And that's the hard thing too, because a lot of people will say, well, the more subsidies that get doled out, the higher equipment prices are. Fertilizer prices go up instantly. Grain prices go up instantly because they know farmers have more money. They know they'll pay more um, for things, and so that is what has led to higher input prices too. But also, it kind of goes into. I was talking to Jack about increasing the cattle herd. And it is a sticky situation of how do you do it, right? And then somebody who posted on Twitter I saw today, cattle guys are getting now the highest payments ever for their cattle. Why would they want to increase the cattle herd? Um, and to me, it's just kind of like because that's what you look at what's going on in Mexico. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to import all these? People are begging these Texas cattle feeders are begging for cattle. Wouldn't it be great if we could supply our own cattle from the U.S. and keep prices?
and I think people don't understand that that what you just said is the issue. That would be really, really fantastic. But um, yeah, I don't know.
Right. And so when you're at USDA and you're like, okay, we would like to increase cattle herd, but you don't want to send out checks. You don't want, and we're at the highest prices ever. Um, it is just a tricky situation.
It's
Because I
tricky.
talked to Jack, I was like, well, one thing I've always wanted to see is have them allow grazing on CRP lands. Well, what would that do to the cattle market right now? What would that do to cow prices if farmers who have CRP are able to make money on cattle by grazing them? We already don't have enough cows, and then we're going to open up all this land to grazing. So certain things like that, it would just you just it's a tricky situation, and I don't think there's an easy answer as far as incentivizing to grow the American cattle herd.
Well,
Um,
that's correct. That is a tricky situation, but we're in the position we are in because of the supply issue, not the demand issue, the supply issue. And if we could break all the corporate oligarchs up, which there is more and more talk about that every day, and get people back in the business to create competition, that will hold up these prices.
yeah, I believe so too. Um, all right, I guess let's get into your trip.
Okay,
I
please.
want people to hear. I want from the very get go of your trip. The-
Well,
By the way, I clipped out where I called you an idiot for paying $20 a plate for a salad, which I get it. A meal out costs $20, but you're an idiot for buying a salad. That's just where that is. But that's been seen like by thousands of people now, um, and or liked on Facebook by thousands of people. But anyway, you are an idiot for how you travel and the way you make plans and everything. You had a rough couple days.
well, I just want everybody to know because I've been accused of just doing this for the money. I've never been paid one dime to do all this. I've never earned a one red penny on it. So to get into my trip, I don't know. A couple 3 weeks ago, I was contacted by America First Policy Institute, and I don't know why, to participate on this board and or on this in this summit, and it was a panel discussion. Listen, let me start from the beginning. I was in Colorado shipping cattle last week. I came home to Texas. I got some wheat planted and worked some calves. And yesterday morning at 1 in the morning, I left my house and drove to DFW, got on an airplane, and was in Washington, D.C. by like 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, because that was the only
No,
flight I.
but you got to go back. I want to hear about how you got from your house to the airport.
Oh my gosh, did I tell you that?
Yeah, you said you had to push your pickup.
My gosh, yeah, I woke up at 1, took a shower, and I went out to get my pickup. And for some reason, that night before, I parked in front of both garage doors because we have two cars in the garage, right? And I parked in front of both of them, and I usually just park in front of one. And my pickup would not start, and I'm panicking, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I put my pickup in neutral and I pushed it down the driveway where it was blocking the driveway. And I was able to get one of those cars out. And then I had to drive on the lawn to get out. And I tried to push the pickup back up the driveway, and I could not do it at 1 in the morning. And I don't know if you know, on these new electric pickups, my pickup's a 21 Chevrolet, and it's all electric. Well, when you turn the key on and the battery is dead, well, all these lights just start blinking and these sounds just start coming on, and everybody in the neighborhood is probably hearing me cuss because I can't push the pick up the driveway. But anyway, I did get the car out and I got to Dallas Fort Worth, got on a plane and flew here.
But my question was, why are you're by one of the biggest airports in the country, and you scheduled what time was your takeoff?
5 a.m.
And you're 2 hours from the airport,
Correct.
and you know you got to be there. And like, for me, like when I have to be somewhere, I've done it enough, traveled enough, and been dead tired enough to know that okay, I need to get a good, I need to get good sleep, stay on my schedule. And you're like, okay, I need to leave at 1 in the morning. This will work out. I'll be.
The reason I did is because I have been so tired from traveling to Colorado to ship cattle. I needed to get some rest. And I thought, well, first of all, there's only two flights in the morning to DC from DFW. The other ones you have to wait till later in the day. And I'm like, that's not going to give me enough time. And the 7 o'clock flight was full. So I got on the 5 a.m. flight, thinking that I could get some sleep, which I did not because I'm so fat. I can't sit in the freaking seats, and you don't want your arm and your fat rolling over to the next guy, right? So you're sitting like this the whole way, hoping you're not offending anybody. And I got here and I was able to get in my hotel early and actually get some sleep because my mind has just been blown mushy. And so I got a little bit of sleep. And then last night I decided to meander uptown and eat some supper. And that's where I met these two farmer ladies from uh,
Hey
Iowa,
now.
Iowa. And that was good. And then, so today, 8 o'clock a.m., started this Mexico U.S. Relations Summit, and it was a great day. I am so happy. I met so many good people, and they were like, I've been able to, they gave me their numbers. We need to keep in touch because here's the deal. I'm going to get to it. Mexico is doing the same thing that America is doing. Their government and the ENGOs and the NGOs have infiltrated into their government, but they have the cartel on top of it. And those people are Marxists, and they are attacking freedom and liberty in Mexico the exact same way they're doing it here. So, what was a Mexico U.S. relations panel on trade really became one on liberty and freedom, which was right up my alley. And I was on the third. There were four panels. I was on the third panel, and was able to express myself shortly. Not long enough. I wanted to talk more about liberty and freedom, but I got my point across, and it was just super great. So that the the person that impressed me most today was Lily Teles, and she is the Mexican senator that has been on American TV talking about how corrupt the Mexican government is and Scheinbaum and how the cartels are running the show. And I actually got to talk to her, and she listened. She listened to what I had to say, and she said, "I want you to know you are correct in everything that you said." And we had a great conversation. And I have a picture to prove it. She's a beautiful woman, very nice. And then I sat at a table with two wonderful women who have been fighting communism and human trafficking. They have saved, I think that lady told me she has saved over 3,000 young girls from being trafficked by the cartel in and out of the United States. And then there were people like Chad Wolf, who used to be at the DHS. He spoke. Ambassador Johnson, he was the last speaker. It was fantastic. A guy by the name of Josh Trevino, who works here at AFPI, he was fantastic. Everybody was super fantastic. Tate Bennett. Um, and I just, I learned a lot, right? Because I'm just a rancher out here, but I see a perspective that they don't get to see. So the deal is I was lucky to come and see their perspective, but they probably won't ever see my perspective. So I have to communicate that across the right way. And I had a jillion people come up and say they appreciated it, appreciated the honesty. But what I got out of the whole summit was we are in a fight for liberty, both of us. And that made me feel good because even the experts that were keynote speakers today, they were talking my language, the language we've been talking, me and you, Mindy Patterson, all of us freedom fighters. They've been talking, they have moved their talking positions over to what we've been preaching about. And so that's confirmation for me that they are hearing us, and that maybe food production is one of the most important parts of liberty, right? Our ability to produce what we see fit, how we see fit on the land that we've earned, right? So, property rights was part of the discussion. Trade, my whole point in my talk was about Mexico, the need for Mexico and the United States to reclaim their individual sovereignty. And then we can go back at all of these relational deals. But until Mexico gets on top of their federal government being so corrupt, and listen, ours has been too. But I'm America first all the way. But until Mexico gets on top of that, we're going to have trouble down there. I think Trump's got the right people in place, and I think they've got the right connections to all of these people. So we'll see where it goes. But I enjoyed and I was humbled to be a part of this summit. And I will tell you this: I graduated with like 26 classmates at Crowley County High School in Ordway, Colorado, and I never thought, and nobody else did either, that I would be in DC on a relations panel with very high up people.
Yeah. And how about shout out to America First Policy Institute, right? Because how many times has a guy, you were shipping cattle and planting wheat and jumped on an airplane and went to DC and was sitting on a panel like that? And that is why a lot of people will say, this is a Brooke Rollins outfit, America First Policy Institute. And people call us apologists, or we're giving her a pass, or this, we need to be harder on her, or any of this stuff. um she's America first, and this is the kind of things that we see happening. Is somebody like you out there getting invited to come and do this, which that has never happened before. It would always be some lobbyist who's there to be the voice of the American cattle rancher, right? And like, yeah, you're involved with RCAF, but did your RCAF connections really have, I mean,
No,
you were there as a Texas rancher.
I was there as the American cattle rancher, and I honestly, and they said, tell us, when you introduce yourself, who you're involved with. And I totally spaced it out. I spaced the Lonesome Report out. I spaced RCAF USA out. And I said, I'm just here because I'm the boots on the ground. I'm the guy that sees it every day, and cattle are my source of income. And that gives me a different perspective on all of it, Jim. And it does. And in about, I don't know, in a couple hours, I got to go jump on an airplane, go back to Fort Worth, supposed to drive back to Colorado and ship cattle on Thursday. This is not easy, but I'm telling you the same way, the same exact thing Lily Tellez, the senator from Mexico, said in there today. We have to, as individuals, we have to fight for freedom for the next generation. That's what this is all about, because they are very, very quickly coming after our sovereignty. And you know what? When you have unfair trade and you have smuggling of whatever crop or person it is, guess who benefits from that? The corporations, not the individuals. There's a reason we have fewer ranchers on the land now than ever before. There's a reason our cattle numbers are so low. It's because of centralization. This is all just a fruit of centralization, the corporate cabal taking control of all of this. And you talk about free trade with USMCA. The one thing I worry about that is it does, if it doesn't benefit the independent producer on both sides, or does it benefit the corporate oligarchy that needs to be broke up, just like that farmer in Arkansas said. For the first time, I seen a video, a farmer for the very first time this week or yesterday. I saw a video talking about how Trump needs to use the laws, antitrust laws that we have already, to break these big corporations up. And when the farmers start talking about it, I'm like, we're making headway. This is fantastic.
Right
So,
on.
so it was I'm very humbled to be here. I really am. And I don't want to ever turn into something. I don't want to be hoity toity. I just want to, I want to represent rural America and the people of the land, because that's who we are, and that's what gives us roots in America. That's what gives us that America First vision and support of the America First policy. I see ag people on my social media threads today. One of them very involved with the Common Ground Summit and cussing Trump like crazy, and I'm like, you know what? There's a reason we're here. 8 months into it, it ain't because of Trump. It's because of these bad policies that have been pushed that do not uplift independent production across America. This is the fruit of that. And you're part of the reason we've been here. We're here. And so let's try something different. And you want to cuss Trump? Fine. I'm all for cussing Trump. But at the end of the day, I'm America first. I don't care what anybody says. I'll always be America first. And when America first policy is uplifted, the world is a better place. I guarantee it.
Right on. So just get into your I want to get back to your schedule. When were you shipping cattle? What day were you shipping cattle?
Friday, Thursday or Friday
You
last
ship cattle Thursday,
Thur-
Friday. And
Thursday
then from your place in Texas?
in Colorado.
So you were in Colorado. How far a drive is it to your place
9 hours.
Texas? So you have a ranch in Colorado. You drive 9 hours, and then you were planting wheat.
I came back from Colorado. We got started planting wheat. Got everything. I mean, I've got some wheat in the ground. In fact, I got quite a bit of wheat in the ground. And then I had to jump out on my wife. She's upset at me. She said, traveling is driving me insane, and come here. So
Yeah. And
today,
then you're going back and you're flying into Fort Worth. What day are you shipping cattle back in Colorado?
Thursday,
Thursday.
I'm supposed to drive back to Colorado tomorrow and ship cattle on Thursday. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I did text my sister today, and I'm like, do you think you can handle it without me? And she's like, upset and upset through it, and she's like, oh, probably, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I hope I can skip out on that, but that is my big day. That's my big payday. And I hate to miss it for my family.
Right. But to go back to it, you're boots on the ground guy doing all this stuff. Leave your skip out on your wife,
Yeah.
put your sister in a bind with shipping cattle, pay your own way to DC. But this is how it should be, right? You shouldn't be some guy who's making who knows however many hundreds of thousands of dollars living in DC and coming out and being like, I'm the voice of the American
Right.
cattleman. Like
No,
you should be shipping cattle and flying to DC. We live in an age where this is how it should work. We don't need, you know, other voices when we have our own or people like you.
we damn sure are making headway in that area. Um, and you know what? Like it or not, whether we're hard on Rollins or not, she has listened to independent producers. I mean, the group of influencers that she's put together, that's fantastic. She had them gentlemen from out west into DC. That's fantastic. How many other secretaries of any bureaucracy or any agency, I should say, have done that? None.
Right.
So to me, I feel like we're more on a personal level, on the ground level, that they understand, you know, they understand the importance of what we're doing. And Trump today, I haven't got to read it, but today he told the United Nations that they were creating um, nations that were full of badness. I guess.
Oh yeah. Well, he went in on the migrate immigration thing because they've been pushing that whole thing. I mean, this goes into the United Nations, as we've talked about it. They are the place where the lie of beef and cattle are bad for the environment. That's where the whole thing started. The United Nations is the number one anti-America organization, I think, in the world, and I would love to see him defund it. And hopefully today a lot went into that because did you see him try to get on the escalator?
No, I
Him
did
and
not.
his wife went to get on the escalator at the United Nations headquarters. It shut off the second they stood on it. So then they had to walk up it. And then he's given a speech today and they shut his teleprompters off.
You're kidding.
While he's giving the speech, this teleprompter shut off.
I did not get to see any of
So it's
that.
almost like they're like playing I mean they're just trying to
Get the
sabotage his whole visit.
get the United.
Hopefully, I mean, the fact that we give them a red cent now should just make everyone livid, and so hopefully the whole thing,
Well, one of the questions at this policy summit today was, did Mexico aid in the mass immigration across to America? And one guy was like, no, it was just an invasion. And the other and another guy that I know very well said, absolutely they did. And here's why. Because Mexico allowed, and the United States allowed, the United Nations soldiers to step foot on American soil and mandate that we give them immigration data from our computers. I had no idea. I had no idea that the UN was at the border that whole time. That tells you where we're at with the United Nations. And I've spoke on the war on beef for a long time. And at the very top is the United Nations. They are not the top problem, but they're second in line. The top problem are the global elite who put the United Nations together.
yeah,
And
just the
that
people running that outfit.
absolutely get the United Nations out of America. Reclaim your sovereignty and let's get to promoting liberty and freedom through the Constitution the way our forefathers saw their vision.
Right on.
Dang it.
All right. Anything else you want to? You've been so busy, and I don't have a ton of.
We have a lot
Are
of good.
you excited? Jimmy Kimmel's coming back. He's had quite a week, I guess. I don't know. I've never watched the show. I don't know. It seems like very few people even do. There was way more people worried about the show than ever watch it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But I mean, all these people that are wound up about free speech. You and me didn't have we weren't allowed on YouTube for 2 weeks
Yeah.
because we said factual things. Um, and they're in the news now, and we still can't talk about those things. But
I'm
anyway, I mean, you want to be mad about free speech. You are a little late to the game. I'll say that.
amen, brother.
Um,
Amen.
and Charlie Kirk had his funeral, which
Which
I will say. I was an email came in from Kansas State, which I kind of assumed, there's so many ag people in Kansas State. They said that he was told that right at they can't allow um I guess we were talking about Kansas State and how he said that was the worst reception he'd ever received because they pulled his mics at a certain time. Apparently, he was told at a certain time they have a rule that no, amplifiers or whatever are allowed after the certain time. So, but I was glad to hear from someone in Kansas State.
Well, now wait a
And
minute. So you're saying you got an email from Kansas State?
no, it was I think they were a student or what, but they had checked into it there. Or I think, because he got this wonderful, warm reception. So we don't want to say that the students at Kansas State didn't like him. But he said that the university, he blamed them for like the
Well,
worst.
listen, I'm just telling you from an agriculture perspective, Kansas State University was the second university to sign on to sustainable development policies, right behind UC Davis, and they're pushing the communism just like every other university is now. And I think we should hold them accountable because what they're doing basically is teaching these kids that they are to serve the corporate system. That's what the universities are teaching. They're not teaching. We talk about teaching in kindergarten reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not teaching production agriculture on an independent level in these universities. They're teaching them that they think they're brainwashing them to say, well, I've got to be a part of the corporate system because I can't go back home. Let's create an era of going back to the farm and ranch and uplifting
Mhm.
into production. I do want to talk about Charlie Kirk. I was here. We did the last Lonesome report the day that Charlie Kirk passed away, and it was moving for me. It was a heavy day. It was already heavy out here in DC for me just because of the history of DC and the things that I got to see. But as I went through the week, I grew fonder of Charlie Kirk, and I already liked the guy. I didn't really follow him on a mass level like a lot of people do, but I will say that we are making headway in our country when the leaders of our nation go to a funeral and they proclaim the blood of Christ in a funeral that went out to hundreds of millions of people. That, if maybe that's part of prophecy, I don't know. But when Marco Rubio got up there, I beamed with so much pride. I thought Marco Rubio kicked butt. I thought it was awesome. I thought Mrs. Kirk was phenomenal. And I think it is a moment in history to behold. And I had the day before I came here was when that funeral was. And I hired a young man to do my chores while I was gone. And I told him, I said, do not, he says, what time you want me to meet you? And I said, don't come down here until you're done watching that. And I said, you need to watch every minute of that funeral, which I did as well. Is an important piece of our history.
Yeah. Right on. Well, I think you've said everything best today. This
Woo!
was the Shad Sullivan show, which is what it should have been,
I'm
live from DC. All right. And so if you want to continue to support what we're doing, go to lonesomelands.com, click on support now, and there's different ways you can do that there. Christmas is coming. I got to re-up on my merch. I've got a couple people I got to email that I haven't sent their merch out. But also, if you've emailed, I'm getting through them. We've gotten a lot of response over the last few. People loved, our Charlie Kirk episode pretty much last week. And so, thanks everybody, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Main thing you can do to help us share the episodes, tell your friends to watch all that stuff. Follow Lonesome Lands on all the social media. And we'll see you next week.
Adios.